food security, and financial inclusion. These follow key resolutions reached at the 8th regular meeting of the National Council on Cooperative Affairs in Abuja. Anete Patrick reports for Global.
Addressing delegates, the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliu Abdullahi, said the Council's resolutions will fast-track the transformation of cooperative societies into strong engines of grassroots development. Central to the resolutions is the adoption of the Renewed Hope Cooperative Reform and Revamp Program, a 7-pillar strategy designed to overhaul the sector. This includes regulatory reforms, digital registration systems, improved access to affordable credit, and plans to establish a cooperative bank of Nigeria.
We commit to full integration of the cooperative digitalization program, of which we have 5 consortiums that have volunteered to work with us, and so far have done so many things pro bono, supporting this digitalization effort.
The minister stressed that cooperatives remain vital to national development, supporting food production, small businesses, rural livelihoods, and job creation across the country. He noted that despite their potential, the sector has been constrained by weak structures, limited funding, and poor coordination challenges the new reforms aimed to address. Council members also resolved to harmonize cooperative operations nationwide, strengthen state-level institutions, and adopt a unified reporting system to improve accountability and efficiency.
Having chaired the National Financial Inclusion Committee for 4 years at the Central Bank, the way we do it is that once a thing comes from a partner like this, all the working groups own it.
There is an urgent need to review the existing Cooperative Acts and policy, both of which are long overdue.
And bringing all stakeholders together to ensure that we work hand in hand to make the cooperative ecosystem great once again.
Stakeholders at the meeting reaffirmed their commitment to leveraging cooperatives as vehicles for poverty reduction, youth and women empowerment, and economic diversification. Anete Patrick reporting for Global TV.
Dangote Refinery says global market forces are responsible for the high cost of petrol in Nigeria despite local refining. Managing Director David Bird says the refinery operates without subsidies and remains exposed to international crude prices, freight and insurance costs, all affected by geopolitical tension, particularly in the Middle East. Bird raised concerns over limited access of locally preferred crude, forcing it to import at higher costs, stating that addressing regulatory challenges and improving crude supply will be key to reducing fuel prices in the long term. Now, in the meantime, the federal government has lifted the ban on fuel imports, granting 6 new licenses for the importation of premium motor spirit petrol, following concerns over supply and geopolitical tension in the Middle East. This comes after the Dangote Petroleum Refinery grapples with mounting foreign exchange losses, highlighting the challenge of the Naira for crude arrangement. A senior management official of the firm disclosed that the deal's inefficiency has eroded potential earnings, even as regulators seek to subsidize domestic fuel supply. And on the foreign scene, Ghana's foreign minister has welcomed the United Nations resolution designating the transatlantic slave trade as a grievous crime against humanity. He's also calling for accountability and reparative justice for nations involved in the historic trade. Mukhtar Kasim reports.
Speaking after the vote at the United Nations, Ghana's foreign minister Samuel Ablakwa dismissed criticism from some Western nations and insisted that countries involved in the slave trade must acknowledge their role and take responsibility. The resolution, adopted by a majority of member states, calls for restorative justice and highlights the lasting impact of slavery, including systemic inequality and racial discrimination.
Good afternoon. Today, the international community has taken a significant, considerate, and historic step forward by adopting this landmark resolution declaring the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity.
He also urged the return of looted African artifacts and stressed the need for concrete steps towards compensation and institutional reforms.
Today, through this resolution, the world has spoken with clarity and truth. We have affirmed that the trafficking of enslaved Africans and their racialized chattel enslavement is the gravest crime against humanity, a crime whose scale, structure, and enduring consequences demand recognition at the highest level of our shared global conscience, so that we can move.
The vote has reignited global debates over reparation, with some countries opposing aspects of the resolution despite acknowledging the historical injustice of slavery. Mukhtar Qasim, reporting for Global TV News.
London has sanctioned hundreds of vessels suspected of being part of the shadow fleet used by Russia to bypass Western embargoes since the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has agreed that the UK armed forces and law enforcement officers will now be able to intercept vessels that have been sanctioned by the UK and are now transiting through its waters. Zaral Nasiru has the rest of the story.
The move comes as Washington eased restrictions on Russian oil to supreme prices sent soaring by the US-Israel war against Iran. In January, London provided support to Washington during a US operation to seize a Russia-linked oil tanker called the Marinera, previously known as the Bella One, and accused of flying a false flag.
The focus here is very much on Russian aggression in Ukraine. And we have to accept that there's a war on two fronts. There's the Iranian conflict and the continuing Ukrainian conflict. Today I'll be talking to allies about what more we can do. Of course there'll be discussions about defence spend, also defence capability. And today I'll be making clear to them that I'm giving permission for the UK to intercept shadow fleet, Russian shadow fleet ships. These are ships that are unlawfully breaching sanctions, usually with oil. We'll be working with others.
Starmer is due to address a summit of the Joint Expeditionary Force, a UK-led defense alliance of 10 member countries in Helsinki this week. The UK government says it has sanctioned 544 vessels thought to be part of the shadow fleet, which it claims transports around 75% of Russia's crude. Zahra Unasir, reporting for Global TV.
In sports news now, the International Olympic Committee has announced a new policy limiting eligibility for the female category at Olympic events to biological females, with a rule to take effect from the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. Now, the decision followed approval by the IOC Executive Board, which said the policy on the protection of the female category would apply to all disciplines on the Olympic program from LA 28 onwards and would not be retroactive. In announcing the decision, the IOC said eligibility for all female categories at Olympic events, including individual and team sports, is now limited to biological females. The committee added that eligibility would be determined through screening for the SRY gene, which it described as a reliable indicator of male sex development. FIFA, the International Federation of Association Football, has outlined squad submission deadlines for the 2026 World Cup. Teams can submit a provisional list of up to 55 players by May 11th, with final 26-man squads due by May 30th. The expanded list allows for injuries or last-minute changes. The World Cup kicks off on June 11th in North America, with Mexico facing South Africa in the opening match. Meanwhile, FIFA's Ethics Committee has opened formal proceedings against 3 senior officials of the Congolese Football Association over alleged financial misconduct. The officials on the investigations are FICAFIT President Jean-Guy Moyolas, General Secretary Wantete Badji, and Finance Director Rol Kanda. FIFA said the probe follows a review of documents and information gathered through its own investigation, aiming to ensure transparency and accountability in football governance. That's it on News Prime. Here is a reminder of our top stories again. Brought to you on Global TV News, a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has issued a bench warrant for the arrest of fractional national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Kabiru Turaki San, over his failure to appear for arraignment in a criminal case instituted by the police. In business, the federal government says sweeping reforms in Nigeria's power sector under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda are beginning to yield measurable results with improvements recorded across the electricity value chain. And on the foreign scene, London has sanctioned hundreds of vessels suspected of being part of the Shadow Fleet, ordered by Russia to bypass Western embargoes since the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. And finally, in sports, the International Olympic Committee has announced a new policy limiting eligibility for the female category at Olympic events to biological females, with a rule to take effect from the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. Now, a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching.